Hello, ladies. You're tuned in to Testosterone. This is the sexiest fantasy football television show on TV in the Twin Cities. Cut. I was just kidding. Sorry, Alex.
Fantasy football junkies, you are tuned in to the #1 source for fantasy prognostication. It's Testosterone Fantasy Sports with your hosts, Jeff and Jesse. So listen up. Here's your chance to gain the edge over the competition and dominate your fantasy football league. Every week we break down all of the matchups and tell you who to play as well as who should ride the pine. This is the joint that every fantasy junkie needs, so check it out!
What's up, Twin Cities? This is Testosterone Fantasy Sports, and you are tuning in to the #1 fantasy football television show in the greater Twin Cities area. As always, I'm Jeff, your host. With me this week, Zach Miller. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
We'd like to thank all of you for tuning in today. This is week 8 of the NFL season, lovingly known as the Bipocalypse. And everybody needs to pay close attention this week because we're going to be going through all the matchups. Of course, we'll break down our beloved Vikings team. And as it is the Bipocalypse, there's 6 teams on bye this week as opposed to the regular 4. So the lineups are going to be a little bit thin. And with the right player or players in your lineup, you should be able to beat your foe and further propel yourself onto the fantasy football playoffs. So as we like to do on this show, it's about that time to talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Last weekend, we had a tough loss down in Dallas, a tall order to go and face the premier team in the NFC. Zach, why don't you give me your thoughts a little bit about the game itself? What could we have done to win that game?
Definitely a winnable game, I guess. We started out running the ball really well, and it just seemed like in the second half we did the same thing we've been doing the previous games outside the Chicago game. We started getting away from AP and not giving the ball at the end of the game when we need him in there. Especially at the end of the game, we need to score. There he is on the sidelines again. It seemed like he'd come in for one play and then he'd leave, sit on the sidelines while we try to get down the field.
Yep. Once again, we saw Adrian Peterson returning the ball on kickoffs. You know, that's something that when I first saw it happening, I was opposed to it. It's definitely an injury risk for our premier player, but you know that field position, which plays such a vital role in the game, it's very valuable for us to get good field position. So having him in there is not a bad thing. Eventually, he's going to break one. The other thing I was going to say, Zach, I would like to see them throw the ball to Adrian. We had no screens in that game.
Yeah, not a single one. We did try and throw one down the sideline to him that he dropped. A little bit difficult of a pass to catch, but I still think he should have had it. But yeah, I'm not sure why you don't run any screens. I mean, that's a pass that we should run probably 2 or 3 times a game. It's just an easy pass for Tavarius, who has kind of an accuracy issues and maybe a little bit of confidence issues as well. And not only that, we could run like a little more not screens, but slants and crossing routes. We have quick receivers, and then it's short routes, 5, 6 yards. Yeah. And get Tavares, complete some passes to get a little more confident instead of dropping him back where he's got to survey the field and try and find a guy. He's just not accurate enough to hit those guys consistently. And you mentioned confidence, and for a young NFL quarterback, confidence is almost half the battle, really. Mm-hmm. I really like what you're saying about the short passing routes because they're easier to connect with. We've got the wide receivers and the running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield. And it just seems to me like if we were to go to those guys around 5 yards, possibly a 10-yard pass play here and there, I think that things would open up down the field. And also the defense would have to respect the pass a little bit more if we're more productive in the passing game. One of the big issues that we're seeing is still accuracy deep. Our team has taken more shots down the field at this point in the season than we did even last year with Brad Johnson and his noodle arm. At least Tavares can throw the ball deep, but if you can't connect, what's the point? Mm-hmm. I like seeing us go deep, a couple times a game. Mm-hmm. A couple weeks ago we hit the one with Williamson. But yeah, again, he's just not accurate enough to hit those guys. And it seems consistently like they're getting open downfield. Yep. It's just a matter of connecting on that throw.
Yep.
So, and not only that, if we're hitting those short routes, we got some athletes on our team. If you hit them in space, they can always make a guy miss and make a big play out of it. But
it would be really nice to see our running backs catch the ball. Like you said before, Zach, we haven't seen the screen pass nearly enough. I'd like to see Chester get involved in the passing game. Definitely want to see Adrian involved in the passing game. Adrian Peterson, obviously, he's a special type of player. He's a horse who we're building our franchise around. He's got a great personality, the heart of a lion, really. And to see him kind of taken out of the game like that by our own team is just hamstringing us. You know, we really have to get him involved more. But we held Dallas down, only 24 points from the best offense in the conference.
And one of those touchdowns was that field goal block for return. So we held them to 2 offensive touchdowns, which was phenomenal against Dallas.
Right.
And it's one of those games you should be able to win, especially if you're such a good running team like we are.
Yeah.
It's definitely a winnable game, and
right.
the score wasn't quite as close as the game actually was.
Yeah, you're right. You know, that blocked field goal definitely kind of put the spread on. Our defense put up another touchdown. On the fantasy field, our defense is a top 5 producing entity, and go ahead and roll with them for the time being. As the season gets on, as our team continues to have to play more and more, I think that we could suffer some injuries here and there. Our productivity could slide. So use them while they're hot, possibly try to sell high in the next few weeks. But as far as our team goes, Zach, why don't you tell me what, in your opinion, is your biggest criticism for the team to date?
Lack of passing game at all. I mean, if we had any passing game, it'd open up the run, I mean, even that much better, and it just allow us to even have a chance of scoring more. Even if it's field goals, it just seems that no matter where we start in the field, we're having trouble even getting into field goal range, let alone scoring 6.
So on the flip side, let me know what your biggest praise for this team would be.
Well, it's definitely our running game, and then our defense, shutting down the run. I know our pass defense is a little weak. We played a little bit better last week against Dallas, and one of the top pass offenses in the league. So, you know, consistently we are, you know, top 5 against the run, and as long as we get that pass defense a little better. So I'd say our defense is, I mean, they're playing phenomenal and giving us a chance to win each and every game, regardless of how poor our offense is playing.
One criticism that I have for the team is I would like to see, I'm very pleased to see both Adrian and Chester in the game at the same time. That's going to keep defenses on their heels. I would like to see them, our team, throw the ball to those boys a little bit more. I think that it would loosen up the defense in the secondary to get the ball to our wide receivers. Those guys need all the help they can get, make no bones about it. So throwing the ball in the flat, a few screen plays would be nice to see. A big praise that I have, the more I watch Kevin Williams, the more impressed I am with that guy. He's a house. And not only that, but he's quick. You know, he had that fantastic return for the touchdown.
Yeah.
A little winded at the end of that game. It made for some fun, you know, although he in the desert heat down in Dallas, he looked pretty winded. But he's a difference maker on our defense. Teams can't run against us because of it. He's a tall guy. He's able to get his hands up. He seems to be real smart football-wise, and he puts himself in a position to make plays. That would have been his second touchdown if it wasn't for the holding by Ray Edwards. So it, you know, kind of tough to see that. I'm sure he mentioned something to Ray about that after the game. But to me, I don't think anybody else would choose Kevin Williams as our MVP, but he's mine so far for the season.
Definitely on defense. Just think if we had any sort of pass rush from our ends.
Yeah, I know.
Kenichi Udeze continues to just play poorly. I don't know. He might be decent against the run, but just for a pass rush, he's very weak.
Yeah.
And one guy I'd like to see in there a little more would be Brian Robeson. Seems like every time he's in there, he gives that extra little energy on our defensive line, and he's always getting up on the quarterback, either knocking him down or actually getting the sack. Yeah,
between Robeson and Udeze, who does fill a hole, Ray Edwards and then Erasmus James actually got in, made a couple plays in the game. I know that if you ask Chester, he'd probably say that James is soft. I think that James might have stepped his game up just a little bit in the last couple of weeks due to what issue he had with Chester. So it's been good to see that. Between those 4 guys, we should have a little bit better rush. But I'll tell you that I miss Lance Johnstone. You know?
Yeah, he was one of those guys that seemed like every time he was on the field, he got to the quarterback. He just figured out a way to get there. So.
Yeah, and he may have had to use a walker to get there, you know, now as he's gotten older. But still, any kind of pressure on Romo, and you know, we could possibly force him into a turnover. and that's so vital in the NFL these days.
And I like our blitzing our linebackers. I mean,
Yes.
EJ's a great he's turned into one of the premier linebackers, I think.
Yeah,
and he's a great blitzing linebacker. He's quick and he can get to the quarterback.
And he's shown some really nice mental fortitude so far in this season. That's been really impressive for a guy who took his time to develop.
Yeah.
He's really stepped up in the leadership role, and he's stuffing the middle in the way that we hoped he would when we got him. So in the interest of putting the past behind us, now our boys back in the friendly confines of the Metrodome, we get to host the Philadelphia Eagles, another team who's not meeting up to expectations so far on the season. They're only 2-4, and they come and they face us. We're 2-4 as well. Give me your take on what the Vikings need to do in this game in order to bring home the victory, Zach.
I think first and foremost we have to establish the run right from the get-go. And Philly's been one of those teams that are a little bit weak against the run this year. So we shouldn't have a problem running the ball against these guys, whether it be AP or Chester Taylor. It'd be nice to see us get those short pass routes going right away, just to get Tavares a little bit of confidence right away in the game. And
I think the entire Twin Cities, every place west of the Mississippi would be totally shocked and dismayed if on the opening play of the game we threw the ball deep. You know how crazy that would be?
The thing is, the guy would probably be open and Tavares would overthrow him.
Right,
anyway, so.
right. Yeah, it would be nice to see Tavares work out his accuracy at 30 yards. It's an important piece to your offense to be able to go deep, not necessarily just when need be, but when the occasion arises. And I would like to see us be able to do that. You know, Adrian, he's leading the league in yards. AP, we love you for that all day long. 6.2 yards per carry. That's stout. And in the NFL this season, it seems like the receivers have been the show to begin the year. A bright spot like Adrian Peterson has really been nice for us. And with every cloud, there is a silver lining, and he definitely is it. And we'd like to dub this show, the subplot for this show is we want to see the Vikings feed the beast all day. You got to feed the beast all day. So let's get him going. The Eagles are without Jeremiah Trotter now. They let him go in the offseason. And in my opinion, whatever dude is filling his spot at the middle linebacker just it isn't stepping up the way Trotter did. And I think that they're susceptible to the run between the tackles. If we could get AP going up the middle, Chester out around the outside, and then establish the pass like you're saying, I think we can bring this game down. Tell me what you think about our defense against the Eagles. What can we expect out of Donovan McNabb from a fantasy perspective this week?
I guess I would definitely start Donovan McNabb because you know he's going to get those yards that all the short passes he's used to throwing. He's always got Brian Westbrook coming out of the backfield, who's always a phenomenal pass-catching running back. So he'll get his. As for rushing yards for Brian Westbrook, I wouldn't expect a whole lot out of him against our defense, but he'll definitely get a lot of receiving, so he's still a good play.
Yeah, Brian Westbrook is a must-play week in and week out. He catches the ball as well as runs the ball, and I really think that they're going to be working on a couple of wrinkles for him throughout this game. Another sidebar for this game is Brad Childress' first attempt to take down his former Jedi Master in Andy Reid. Luckily for us, it's in our house. Look, folks, this is a team that we can beat. I really believe that we'll have this game by fourth quarter's end, and we should be looking at 3-4 after this game. The Eagles are not doing that good. I mean, their best wide receiver is a short white guy, you know, plain and simple. So we should be able to lock it down. But I think we're still going to struggle passing the ball.
Yes, definitely.
So Javon Curse in any kind of IDP leagues, he makes a pretty good start. Whether he's locked up against Mount McKinney or on the other side, Marcus Johnson?
I believe, yeah.
I think that Curse will be able to get some pressure on us in the pocket. So Tavares is going to need to be on his game. The decision-making in the pocket has been something that I'm a little bit concerned with as well. It seems like when he has the opportunity, Tavares needs to take off and run a little bit more. Show us that speed he's got.
Yes, and not only that, even make some plays where he can roll out a little bit, you know. Get Childress to get him to roll out so he can, you know, either have the choice of running or throwing. Instead of letting him stand in the pocket, he seems to get a little too anxious when he's in the pocket, and he tends to throw the ball a little too soon. And, you know.
Both kickers make a nice play for your squad this weekend. You may find Ryan Longwell on your free agent wire. If you're the guy rolling with Nick Folk or a player of such caliber like a Neil Rackers, you might be able to find a Longwell on the waiver wire. He makes a pretty good fill here this weekend. Akers solid every single week, it seems. And then the Vikings defense is another great play, as we said before. So a little purple positivity, even though we lost last week, holding the Cowboys down to 24. An excellent job by our defense. And now we're in a game against another NFC East opponent who we can take out. So it looks positive from where we sit now. Of course, we do tape this show this week on a Wednesday, so who knows what could happen until then. But things look fairly good for us matchup-wise.
Yes, definitely. And it's definitely a game we should win. I mean, we should win this game.
I believe
it's
so.
at home against a Philadelphia team that's kind of on the down low, and if we can get this win, we'll be right back in the thick of things, especially in our division.
Yeah, a little bit of pressure on Donovan McNabb would be nice to see from our defensive ends.
He's not quite as mobile as he used to be, too. So a little bit of pressure, maybe rattle him up a little bit.
Yeah,
we don't have to worry about him running as much as he used to. So.
Right. We want to make chunky soup out of that guy.
Absolutely.
So this is Testosterone Sports. It is week 8, the Bipocalypse. We're going to go to break right now real quickly, and then we'll be back to start breaking down the matchups for your fantasy football domination needs. Thanks for checking out.